Looks be good. Hey, welcome everybody. This is episode, oh my gosh, is it episode 7 already? No, it's episode 6 of Love and Support Sessions. I'm your host, Lee, the Wayfighter. Today, whoa, I'm very excited with my guest. My guest is Jason Crowe. He goes by Crowetic on Discord, and he is very much involved. Some might say that he's a founder, but we'll allow him to explain himself the role that he has on the Qortal project. Qortal, if you don't know, can be found at Qortal, that's with a Q, ORTAL.org, and they are described as a blockchain project, a completely unique blockchain based infrastructure platform capable of eventually rebuilding the entire internet, as well as establishing the framework for a worldwide economic system based on individual input for gaining of influence in the network. Welcome, Jason. How you
Yeah,
doing?
thank you. Yeah, no, I'm doing great. A lot of interesting things have been taking place over the last couple weeks as things have really started to kind of catch on. I think people are really noticing things now. It's becoming pretty damn exciting. So I am very happy to be now getting to the point where I'm getting the word out. As opposed to the last 7 years, I've just basically had my head totally stuffed into development and getting all these concepts to actually become a real thing. So now that we have done that, I'm extremely excited to be where we are now and to the point where we can start not only getting people aware and starting to grow the network further, but also now with the direct cross-chain trading that we have in the trade portal, early adopters can now come in and buy the token or the coin that's court on the platform. Is the main coin of the platform, and they can now do that directly with Litecoin, with only involving the two blockchains without any centralized party to do any sort of exchanging or anything like that. And that is, one of the main features of Qortal itself, and actually its namesake. It was originally supposed to be just the trade portal, and another platform was going to do the rest of the stuff that Qortal does now or will do in the future. But we've decided after a lot of discussion to actually merge the two concepts into just Qortal, and that will do everything. So, yeah, sorry, I'm getting a phone call too. Um,
It's interesting that you mentioned token because I had a question from a
yeah,
friend
it's
of
not a
mine
token; it's a
2 days
coin. I should
ago.
have said coin because token implies that it's a token on a chain, and that it's not a coin. And so, what we've actually been calling it is a service coin. I use the term token because originally the name for these types of things that are used for services on blockchains was service token, but it's not really accurate in our case because in our case it is a coin because it's the main coin of the platform. So we call it a service coin so that people don't get even more confused with the terminology that's out there now. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of products that are built with the blockchain infrastructure, whether or not that is a specific platform or just in general.
Yeah, there are. The only issue is that a lot of them are, I don't know, the foundational layers of a lot of the blockchains that exist have what I would consider to be fatal flaws, and including, but not limited to, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and pretty much every other coin that's out there that utilizes POW, POS, and all the things that are out there now. The problem is Bitcoin's original concept was supposed to be run on individual computers. Your home user was supposed to be able to run the entire network, including mining and everything, on their computer, on everyone's computer, right? So it's supposed to be completely decentralized so that every user could verify all the information independently on their own machine, running a full node and running the mining to earn and help, contribute towards running the network. The problem is that there are some really smart people in the world, and they took the algorithm SHA-256 that runs Bitcoin and made it run a lot faster on graphics cards, which then made it so you could put 7 graphics cards in one computer and mine a whole hell of a lot faster than a CPU. Then they took it one step further and made it so that an ASIC machine, which all it does is run that algorithm, is now what runs the network. So the problem there lies in the fact that you can come in with a lot of money and buy a bunch of these machines, and then by default you have more influence over that blockchain because the voting that takes place on the Bitcoin network is done via miners mining towards one decision or another. So if you were to decide to and you had a lot of money, you could become influential on the Bitcoin network or any other network that's run by POW by simply buying more of these machines, and then you'll have a higher influence and higher vote on that network. So that right there is a major problem. If you want something that's actually totally decentralized, that's not able to be centralized like that, it has to be something that's not run by POW and not run by POS, which POS is where you can literally take money, put it in a wallet, and the larger stack you have in your wallet, the more you're able to earn. And because the block rewards are based on the block signer, and the block signer gets the entirety of the reward, it really leads to a lot of competition for that kind of thing. And sure, it's good because it gets money into the system and it makes sense in that regard. But at the same time, you should not be able to buy influence, right? Like for a system to actually be a legitimate voting scenario, it cannot be only the people who are able to buy more hardware are the ones who get their vote heard, right? Like that, the money does not equal power in Qortal. Like that's the whole thing, is that I wanted to eliminate completely the ability to come in with a bunch of money and gain influence over the network. So with Qortal, the only way that you can gain influence is by contributing your time towards being a mentor, being online, having a full node, running it on your own computer, is down to as small as device as a Raspberry Pi 4, as you can see here behind me. This is the Generation 2 device that we developed that is a Raspberry Pi 4, and it's a palm-sized device. It can run on 5 watts of power, and that can run the entirety of the Qortal network, including the mining portion of it, which in Qortal is called minting. So we wanted to eliminate the ability for people to come in with money and have influence on the chain just because they have more money than someone else. Like that was a huge thing for me in particular.
Okay. Whenever I get an outline ready for the show, it's so simple. It's just like who, what, when, where,
Right.
right? W8's questions. So could you introduce yourself and give us some more information about your story?
Yeah.
And it also might be really fascinating to get into why did you want to get involved with blockchain technology and this particular project, and what's it do for you in your life?
All right.
Who
So
are you?
from a very young age, I have been in IT. I've been obsessed with technology. I loved computers. I've built thousands of computers, and mine down here under my desk is crazy looking with lots of liquid cooling stuff going everywhere and lots of lights and nonsense, right? Like I loved all the technology. So when a friend of mine, when I was working at my last day job, which was wow, it was a while ago now. It was a software development company that did CNC manufacturing stuff. And one of the developers there, he actually turned me on to Bitcoin. And when I saw it, I was like, wow, this is really cool. At first, I was like, well, cool, I can make some money by running some of my extra hardware, right? And I was like, okay, cool. So I checked it out and realized that mining had already progressed to a point where I couldn't even do that on my normal computer. But what I could do is mine other coins. So I started getting involved in the cryptocurrency space, and I found other projects where I could mine with my CPU power that you couldn't do that anymore with Bitcoin. And then I found a project called Burst on the first day of its launch. And I got really interested in that one because it was based on hard drive space. Instead of a bunch of CPU power, you could have a bunch of hard drive space with pre-plotted hashes that it read through, which I thought was really cool. And so I formed the first team for that project, and we kept leading it. I helped develop the first mining pool for that coin, and a lot of other things. And I wanted to originally, I wanted to turn that project into what Qortal became now. But the community wasn't behind me on that because they didn't think that rebuilding it from scratch was necessary, and I disagreed. The algorithm for bursts had some inherent issues with it. I don't want to get into all the details because I still do like the project a little bit, and I don't want to like try to bash it or anything. But the algorithm, I noticed with the help of some of my developers, that the algorithm had some flaws, and in order to fix it, we would have to rebuild the whole thing. And so the community wasn't behind me on that because they knew it would take a long time to do, and apparently they were, not into it. So I just went and found another project called Cora, which Burst and Cora actually did the first cross-chain trade in the world, well before any other of these projects had done it. And it was not really noticed because both of those projects were small, had a small following, and I personally didn't have reach on social media, stuff like that, because I was totally focused on the technology and development and building the team and stuff like that. So ultimately, it led us to the point where I realized we needed to build a completely new project from scratch if we wanted to actually address every issue that I had seen in previous projects. And so that led us to what started the building of Qortal, and a lot of concepts from before, from like 2013 until 2016, when we found Cora and we took over the development of Cora because their team left. And we launched two versions of Cora first, then decided that even Cora's code base wasn't good enough at the base level. The database layer needed work, and so that required a whole rebuild too. So essentially, we had to start over no matter what. No matter which way you looked at it, it had to be a project that started from nothing. So we literally rewrote everything to address all of the issues in all of the previous platforms and all the experience that I had personally and multiple people around me had in the space since about 2013. We've seen the come and go of the ICO phase where they're, writing white papers and not even having anything and getting millions in funding for nothing. And I didn't want to follow in any of their steps. I didn't want to do any of the things that I would consider honestly to be bullshit. So I wanted to do something like Qortal. I wanted to develop something completely brand new. So we needed an amazing development team, which I had found over the years and gotten them all communicating. A lot of the times I was literally directly a communication bridge between some of them because I don't know if you've dealt with a lot of very high IQ people, but some of them don't really get along very well with others. So I had to literally bridge communications a lot of the time and get the team built and communicating to the point where we can get this actually done. And then that's led to our inevitable launch in last year in July. There's a lot of stuff that happened in between there. I don't want to get into too many details because, there's just way too many. So, but yeah, we ended up with what we have now that was launched in June of 2020. And now we have the ability to do the cross-chain trades with Litecoin and stuff too, which we didn't have initially at the launch. So yeah, I'm sure I'm getting off track a little bit with the questions. So
when you
I have a tendency
say
to go on and on. So
when you say infrastructure platform capable of eventually rebuilding the internet entirety, some might
yes,
choose to use the words in its entirety or entirely
entirely or in its
replaced. That
entirety.
is
Yeah,
a
yeah,
massive vision, and
yeah.
I'm sure it's a vision that there are many people around the world share because they've seen the current events, let's say this generation or the last couple decades, and how the presence that we have on the internet has changed, and censorship control of the internet, not just specific platforms, but in general, and the
Right.
scrubbing of information. Um,
So what leads to most of those problems is that there are centralized agencies that run the entire internet these days. If you look at the capitalization of something like AWS, Amazon Web Services, they run what, like 70% of the websites that are on the internet. And so if they wanted to, they could pretty much limit whatever they wanted, right? Like that's the main problem, is that there are too many centralized agencies that have too much control and too much of a stake in the existing internet. So the only way to fix that is to make a platform that has no centralized control, no ownership by anyone, even me as a founder. Yes, I am a founder, and there are 15 founder accounts that were launched at the beginning. They get a little bit more reward in the beginning to reward them for their time that they've put into it prior. And as the other people level up and get to the top level, the founders could actually be less influential and get less reward if they haven't been contributing like everyone else. So the whole idea is for the system to be completely fair, to be completely without any sort of centralized control whatsoever, all the way down to trading and anything else that you would need, like an exchange for, usually. So, in order to do that, we literally have to do everything without any ownership and directly person to person. The only way that you can accomplish that is with a blockchain, basically. And our blockchain is the only one that I'm aware of that can do all of the things that our platform can do, and that can will be able to do all the other things that we want to do in the future. Right now, we're in phase two of the launch. Phase one was to just get the network going, get it out there. Phase two is to launch the trade portal and have a gateway, basically, to get in and out of court without any sort of centralized control, so that if we do have issues with exchanges and stuff like that, they will not affect us. We are not tied to an exchange. We don't have to worry about an exchange getting hacked or thefts that have happened plenty of times, especially if you look on the news and look for exchange hacks. I've personally lost about 9 Bitcoin over the years on centralized exchange platforms when they either get hacked or just disappear completely and scam people. And so that was something that had to go immediately. And in order to be a live coin, right? To be a project that's not considered dead, you have to have a trading platform. You have to have somewhere to trade the coin. Multiple good projects, including Quora, were considered dead because they were delisted from centralized exchanges. Now, for a for a decentralized project to be dead because they don't have a centralized service, it just doesn't make any sense, right? And the only reason that that is able to happen is because most exchanging of coins and value and stuff takes place on centralized platforms right now, like Coinbase, or any of like what is it, Binance, any of the
OKCoin.
big names that are on domains, right? Like anything on .com, anything is a centralized provider. And if you're accessing a website, you're accessing that centralized provider's server. When you send coin to an exchange, you're giving up control of your coin, and they now own it. They say you own it in your account, but they own it. If they wanted to, they could disappear and they take your coins with it. So we needed to have the ability to trade without any of that, directly from one blockchain to another. Luckily, we already knew that the technology existed because we did the first cross-chain trade in the world between Burst and Quora using the same smart contracts that we use now. That was a custom written language by the Siam developers. It's a hardware level language that acts as a virtual CPU and executes simple commands. It's not like the Ethereum virtual machines that have a lot more complexity to them, but they also have a lot more ability to be hacked. So the smart contracts that we use are very simple. They're a hardware level language that cannot be hacked, and they only do a set of things that they're programmed to do. In our case, we're using the ACCT smart contract to do the trades. You put up a sell, it sits on the blockchain in this smart contract, and the buyer comes to buy it. They accept the sell, and it trades directly across chain. If you want to know the specifics on that, there's an infographic on the website that explains it, but it's going to be way too in depth technically for most people to understand. But
Is that
basically,
the
you can
diagram at the top of the
trade
page?
with only the two chains running, Litecoin and the Qortal chain. With only those two chains, you can trade without any other centralized party, no KYC, no AML, none of that. No authority over it whatsoever. You control everything when you're in Qortal. All of your coins are in your control only. The trades take place when you decide they do, and never at any other time, and you never lose control of your keys. So that is the most important thing. And everything that we build from this point on will have that same methodology and ideas behind it, right? So everything that you do on the Qortal network, and we've got a demo of some of the communication stuff that we can do in QChat, which is the communications plugin that's built already in the UI. You can send real-time instant messages that are fully encrypted. When you're doing private messages, the group messages aren't fully encrypted yet, but we will have that technology in the near future. But P2P messages on QChat are completely unhackable, completely uncensorable, and completely unable to be stopped. That's the whole idea behind blockchain technology in the first place, is that the blockchain can't be stopped, right? Once it's started, the only way you can stop a blockchain is by killing all power or killing all internet. And I don't think they're quite ready to do any of that yet. So, and even when they do get to that point where they feel like that they're going to cut power off from people and they're going to cut internet off, we will be ready because our devices and our applications will be built in with mesh networking and the ability to use satellite communications as well. So we will actually eventually not need the traditional internet whatsoever. Once Qortal gets large enough to where your neighbors or at least somebody nearby you has it, it'll connect in a mesh network and you won't need the internet anymore. So the whole idea is for us to remove all centralized control, all middlemen, all gateway providers, and completely get rid of all of that in favor of a network that's literally run by the people, for the people, and anyone can get involved by simply going in, communicating with somebody who can sponsor, which means a level 5 or higher account or a founder. They'll sponsor you. You prove yourself for 7,200 blocks, then you're minting for rewards. Like it's really an awesome system that you kind of have to experience because there's literally nothing else like it in the world. Even other blockchain projects do not come close with this concept and what we can actually do. And when you see, if you're a coder, definitely take a look at the code base because it's incredible. And every coder that I've shown it to has come back to me all excited, telling me all the different things that it can do. And yeah, we will be literally able to get rid of all centralized control in every regard from everything that you do on a daily basis on the internet. We've demonstrated now with the trading and we've demonstrated the QChat abilities, but those are just two small plugins that we've built to demonstrate some of the stuff that can be done. In the future, when we have our data storage, which Quora already had, and we can use a concept similar to what Quora had very easily. But I'm thinking of something that's a little bit more complex and allows for a lot more flexibility. So we're trying to like get that as probably the first concept as opposed to taking the ideas from Quora. But we'll see how it goes. Ultimately, right now, I'm very happy with where we are. We have the ability to do cross-chain trades that are automated. I don't know any other platform that can do that. There are others that do cross-chain trades, but most of them that say that they're decentralized, they're not. For one reason or another, a lot of the time there's a centralized token in between that you have to put your token or your coin into, and it converts to a token that sits on their chain, and then the trades are decentralized. But the gateway to get to that token a lot of the time isn't. So you're still giving up control of your coin. If you're not trading directly from one blockchain to another, it's probably likely that you're giving up control of your coin in order to trade. And if you have to do that, then that's a problem.
Okay. I believe I found the infographic that you're referencing.
Yeah, for the
I
trade
clicked
portal.
on the trade portal link
Yeah.
at the top of the Qortal page website.
Right.
Are you willing to share your screen and point out some of the highlights or make
Yeah,
use
let me
of that
see.
infographic to help us understand how the trade happens?
Yeah, give me just a second. My screen's probably going to be huge because it's 4K, but one second.
All right.
Okay, so can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so this right here explains exactly how the cross-chain trade takes place, right? The person selling in this case is going to be called Bob. So Bob lists Court for sale on the trade portal. Then he funds an AT, which is a smart contract that sits on the chain. And that gets held there and it's listed on the cells on the trade portal, right? then someone coming in who's buying, and this is listed for BTC, but right now we've removed BTC from the UI. We still have the ability in the back end, but it's too slow and too expensive. So it made a lot more sense for us to use Litecoin as the main trading right now. So we've replaced the trade portal to use Litecoin instead, but the whole concept is still the same. So Alice comes in with her Litecoin and purchases that order. That changes to pending status, which means that the order's in process. Alice then funds a P2SH, which is a shared secret on the LTC chain that is like a holding transaction, essentially. And once that happens, then it's included in the block on LTC, which means it's confirmed and it's waiting for the locking to take place. It gets locked, then the trading status updates again. Then Alice's bot, which is local to Alice's computer, it funds the P2SHB, which shares the secret, and that gives the person the ability to redeem the coins that were locked on LTC. And a message is sent back and forth in that process, and the seller is then sending the court from that smart contract automatically to the buyer once that she's proven that she's locked her coins and shared the secret to redeem them, right? It's all done in a specific way. You can read through it here. It's hard to really explain accurately in a way that's going to make a lot of sense. Read through it. It explains exactly how it takes place. But essentially, the end result is that you're trading directly from one chain to another. You don't have to worry about talking anywhere outside of your own computer. All of the communications is done on the Qortal network in an encrypted fashion that can only be done between the two accounts involved. So the end result is that you trade directly cross chain. There are a couple locking transactions involved. The whole process takes 7 minutes to complete from one chain to another and completely confirmed on both sides. So instead of depositing to a centralized exchange, waiting the 20 or so confirmations you have to wait usually for that to happen, and then being able to trade, paying fees on each trade, and then have to withdraw back out your coins to get your control back, it's a much faster process to actually trade directly cross chain, and you never have to give up control of your coin, and you never have to worry about the exchange getting hacked and you losing anything. In this process, there's literally no way that you can lose coin. It's not possible. Since you control the keys for everything that's going on, there is no way that you can lose coin. So that's really just getting rid of the risk associated with trading. And so that right there is huge and potentially a multi-billion-dollar platform just in itself. We have demonstrated with Litecoin, because Litecoin, the fees on the Litecoin chain are the only fees you're paying in this trade, and the fees on the Qortal chain. So just transaction fees like on any other blockchain. So you're not paying any trading fees at all. There's nobody to take those trading fees anyway. So you're not paying any trading fees. You're paying only transaction fees to create the necessary transactions involved in the cross-chain trade. And it actually is a whole hell of a lot cheaper and faster overall to trade directly cross-chain. So once people realize that they don't have to let go of control of their coins, they can trade cheaper and faster. And our platform can support any other Bitcoin clone that has this locking technology in it, which I don't remember which commit that happened on Bitcoin, but if they had followed the Bitcoin development, as long as they have passed that point with the locking transactions, we can support them already on the back end. So even if we don't have a wallet for them, as long as they can create those transactions, they can still use our core to trade. So someone else could create an interface that uses Qortal's back end and has a wallet and allows trading between their chain and Qort without doing anything, without us doing anything. It's all open source anyway. So they can take it, they can use it, they can add their own functionality to it, anything they want to do. And we can use the Qortal's backend to trade with any other Bitcoin clone that has that technology right now. We, of course, will be building in other wallets in the UI like we have for Litecoin that will allow other wallets to be used. And then you can use those in other market pairs on the trade portal too. But right now, the idea is that we wanted to have Litecoin because it's cheap, it's fast, and it can demonstrate the technology much better than Bitcoin did. When we first did it, we did do Bitcoin, and I would have not done that had the chance came again, because Bitcoin is just too slow of a network. The transactions on Bitcoin take a long time to confirm sometimes. And if you don't want them to take a long time to confirm, you have to pay a higher fee. So it ends up costing like $25 to make a trade happen. So unless you're paying or buying a huge chunk of coin at once, it just doesn't make any sense. So we wanted to make sure that the trading made sense. And that's why listing Litecoin made a lot more sense than Bitcoin. So we
Okay.
removed the Bitcoin trading from the trade portal UI, and we added Litecoin. And so now the main trading is done in Litecoin. Right now, we only have the one pair inside the UI that's all automated.
Okay.
So the trading is a huge part of it, because without that, you have to rely upon some entity and have trust in them that they're not going to steal your money every time you deposit to an exchange. So getting rid of that is absolutely huge. And there's been multiple different platforms that have attempted to do it. Some of them actually use real cross-chain trading technology, but the problem is the multiple steps involved, as you can see in the infographic. They each need to be done, and each needs to be a transaction issued every time. There's 3 transactions necessary on the Litecoin chain, and at least 2 necessary on the other chain in the trade to make it happen. So these other platforms that are doing it, you have to manually execute the transactions during the trade. So the process takes a lot more time. And if the other party isn't there to execute their transactions at the same time, then you're not going to end up with a trade until both people actually do what they're supposed to do, right? So that's why we added in the trade bot that runs automatically in the Qortal core and manages those trades on your behalf and allows the trades to be automated. So yeah, it's something that no other blockchain project has done, and allowing it all to be done inside of one interface where you've got your wallets, you've got your trading, you've got your communications, and eventually you'll have your web hosting, data storage, the ability to create websites and host them there, and the ability to view websites all in one interface. So what we're eventually looking at is Qortal becoming pretty much a blockchain based operating system where you will only need to use Qortal to access anything that you would normally use the internet for, right? So just on a much more secure network that cannot be hacked, the data that's put there can only be edited by the account that put it there. There's no ifs or about it, right? Like you cannot edit the data unless you were the account that created it. If that's the case, then how can it be hacked, right? And that's the beauty of the blockchain backend, is that when you secure it with your keys are the only ones that can modify it. So that makes it, by nature, completely unhackable in the traditional sense, right? The only way that the data could be hacked is if you somehow give your account information. And in Qortal, the only way we save the information is also encrypted. So unless you give them access to your account, there's no way that that data is going to change unless you changed it, right? And the same concept applies to every single thing that Qortal will end up doing. Right now, the communications and Q chat is a good demonstration for something else that we had done that's brand new, that's not been seen before. The ability to issue a transaction with no transaction fee on the chain, so you can actually use the communications without having any coin in your wallet, is something else that's totally new.
Jason,
Basically, since we've written it from scratch, there's a lot of stuff that we can do that a lot of other platforms cannot.
that is a lot of information.
Oh,
That
my
is a
audio.
lot of information.
Oh,
And we know
yeah,
that
this
that's
thing's got
not
a glitch.
all
Hold on.
the information that you have or that's available or the
Oh,
details
come
concerning your project. Hey, boy, do I ever wish that I had Qortal or a Cortector running on a Raspberry Pi,
Hold
here
on.
in
I'm gonna have to
Taiwan,
change
so
my
I could.
headset. Give me a second. This thing is not
Sure.
working.
Yeah. Can you hear me? How's that? Is that better for you now?
Yeah, even though I didn't really want to have to wear this headset, but yeah.
Is that
Yeah, I
working
can
for
hear you
you?
now. Yeah.
Okay. So that's a lot of information, and I wish that I had a Cortector or
Yeah, I
more
wish I could
running.
explain the cross chain trading a little bit better. I kind of stumbled through that one. That kind of annoyed me. But regardless, the fact is still the same that you're trading directly cross chain. If you understand how this technology works, then you'll see by reading that infographic. And I did a bad job
Okay.
of explaining it. And so, yeah. But
No,
yeah,
it's all good,
yeah,
and it's good for something to look at visually, because the other side of what we're discussing here, especially with technologies that are unfamiliar or new to someone, is that we use systems and technologies that we really don't have much insight into how they function on a daily basis,
right.
and I might
What
not be
I
able to
like to
describe in
compare it
great
to is
detail
like,
what's
okay,
going on
so
with my cell
when
phone, but
somebody,
I'm sure I'm able to use it.
right? It's when somebody asks me like how the back end works and stuff, I'm like, do you really want to know? For one, because if you do, I'll explain it to you, but do you understand how the back end of the visa system works? No? No. So why do you need to know the back end of this one before you'll trust it when this one's totally open source and they're not? So, yeah, I mean, if you're a coder, you can look at the code. You can see exactly what it's doing. And our code base is very clean and very well commented. So you can read through it literally and
Hmm.
see what everything does. Even if you're not a coder, reading through the comments, you'll be able to see what it does. So we wanted to make sure that any other developer coming in would be able to both help us develop it and also love it, right? Because no coder loves working on a platform when the code base is all strung together and hard to see and hard to understand. So we wanted to make sure that everything was easy both for coders and also for the end level users, for the end user. So yeah, it was a complex task to get to this point. And I'm pretty excited with where we already are. And I know that in the very near future, there's going to be a lot of changes and a lot more people coming in. I think I like to say right now is a great time for anybody who's interested in this to start taking a look at it. Anybody who came from hearing this podcast, let me know. I'll sponsor you to become a mentor. You don't have to pay anything. Just come in and talk with me. I'll sponsor you, and you can see the process for yourself. Yeah, it's pretty incredible that it even exists. I'm
When
really
you say
excited.
sponsor, what does that
Yeah,
mean for someone who is
right.
sponsored or not sponsored exactly?
Yeah. So, okay. So, because the minting is done based on proving yourself to the network, right? So, you just have to be online with a fully synced node and ready and able to be the block signer, right? Because that's the case, we had to somehow limit both the creation of those minting accounts and also make sure that the people who were getting them were able to do the task, right? So, the sponsorship process is any mentor who is already level 5 or a founder can issue a sponsorship key, and the sponsorship key then you assign to a node, and it proves for you that you have the ability to run the node and to be a mentor, right? For 7,200 blocks, which is 5 days if you're running all the time, you prove yourself. You prove yourself. You're saying, I'm a mentor, but I'm not getting rewarded. I'm able to run a node. I'm good, right? So you prove yourself for 7,200 blocks. Once you do that, you reach level 1. You don't need a sponsorship anymore, and you're off on your own. You create your own minting key, assign that, and you start getting rewards. So it was a way to both limit the growth because we wanted the network to grow slowly so that we can address concerns and bugs and nonsense, because everything in the that's custom written, you're gonna run into some sort of bugs and stuff that you have to fix, which we've run into a bunch, and we fixed them all, and now we have a stable running platform. We wanted to make sure that the network grew slowly so that we didn't worry about a huge influx of people and then having bugs. So that was a great way to make sure that that could happen, and also to limit the ability to game the system. It's better to limit the creation of the minting accounts. Plus, I personally like that it brings a social aspect to it. You have to come in, you have to communicate with someone else who's a level 5 or higher, and they'll identify themselves to you if you ask in our Discord or even in Q chat. And you have to then say, hello, I would like to be a mentor, and here's why. And a lot of the time we'll say, okay, did you post anything about Qortal on your social media? Or what are your plans for the future? Like, what are you going to be doing? Right. Like, and we get good people who are actually trying to support the network. Then we sponsor them. They prove themselves for 5 days. Then they're off on their own. Once they reach level 5, they can then start sponsoring other people as well.
When you say node, is that the Qortal core software running on a computer connected to the internet, communicating with other computers running the core software? Is that what that
Correct.
means exactly? It's not
Yes.
looking in on some other network. It's a part of the network that contributes to the integrity of the network. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yes. So a node in any blockchain basically is a system that's running the wallet software. In our case, we've separated the wallet from the blockchain and processing and stuff. So there's no keys and wallet information tied into the core other than the keys for Litecoin if you're doing trading that the trade bot has to know about, right? So the blockchain and all the synchronizing and all that stuff takes place in the core. And when you assign a minting key to it, what you're doing is assigning another key pair that's representative of a relationship on the chain that says, this is the minting account, this is the recipient account. In most cases, it's going to be the same account if you're creating a minting key. And that's assigned to a node, which then allows it to say, okay, this node is owned by this account, and that node then proves itself on behalf of that account because of that relationship you created. It's another thing that our platform can do called reward share, where you create a key pair that's representative of a relationship instead of representative of an account. So that relationship, you can then say, I want 10% of my minting rewards to go to this account. And if you assign that key to a node, 10% of your minting rewards will go to another account. So it's really kind of cool. Basically, the key proves that your node is your node. So if you install the software on any computer, it can be a Raspberry Pi, it can be a Windows computer, a Mac computer, it doesn't matter. You get the core synchronized, you're a node.
Wild. I have a friend that, hey, before we continue, and I want to talk about trade because I think it's great to highlight that what's strong about the project and how it's functioning today. Um, was it difficult in finding the team? And do you want to shout out to the people that have been involved with the project?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The thing is too is that a lot of our team is anonymous, right? And it was kept that way on purpose because we know how disruptive this technology could potentially be. I am the only one that is like super well known as far as my name and my real information, because I wanted to be that public face and give trust by doing these types of things and communicating with people. But at the same time, Kat, Siam, and LOTW, and all of the core development team. Without those guys, I would have absolutely nothing. They are all amazing developers who have worked their asses off to get us to this point, and the entire world will be thanking them in a relatively short period of time, I think. I've always liked to say that if in 10 years your website is not running on Qortal, you're going to be laughed at because you're not secure. Because everything on Qortal will be completely unhackable. So why would you choose to host a website anywhere else? So yeah, it's going to get to that point, and even services that are hosted will be able to utilize Qortal's backend for authentication, verification, and everything can still be verified independently by every single node in the network. And yeah, there's no centralized control over it, no centralized ownership. That's another thing that a lot of other blockchain platforms I think have done incorrectly is that they have established companies that then go, yeah, this company is launching this project, right? That implies that the company owns the project. If the company owns the project cannot succeed. That is the reason why we're in the situation we're in now, is that too many companies got too much ownership over too many essential things. Qortal is an essential thing that allows people to manage their portfolio and communicate and do all the things that you can do on the traditional internet, but on a system that's not owned by anyone and that is not controlled by anyone except for the leveled users on the platform that then put up proposals and vote on them in the future once our voting system is fully complete. But the whole idea is that your input over time gives you the influence that in Bitcoin is done with pure mining power, right? So instead of influence based on a ton of hardware, you get influence based on your contribution over time, and you then can have a higher vote weight based on that influence. And there will be other leveling methods that we create in the future when we get data storage. We can do like if someone over here is a good content creator and they get a lot of upvotes from leveled users in the system, then they can start leveling up from being a good content creator. So there's a lot of other things we can do in the future, and yeah, it's a really exciting platform that's nothing like it has ever existed before. So just based on that, it might be interesting to take a look at it, right?
Would you say that for someone who's actually really interested in economic freedom, personal economic freedom, that this is a project that they should be very interested and excited about?
Oh
People that are
yes.
not interested in being forced to contribute to the SWIFT system or central banking, that this is the way, or people perhaps even that may not appreciate some of the things that have occurred with the Bitcoin project or
Right.
Ethereum project.
Yep, exactly. If you don't like the idea that Bitcoin is now owned by a bunch of big companies running a bunch of mining hardware, that you could never get into that game, instead, you can run any computer, set it up as a minter, and you're good to go. Like, you don't have to worry about buying a bunch of hardware. You don't have to worry about any of that. And the same exact stuff that can be done on Bitcoin, plus a whole lot more, can be done on a network that can run on solar panels in a 5-watt device. So it's really, really, really cool that we can actually do that and that we can get rid of all of this centralized power, right? We're literally trying to take and distribute that back out to the people, quite literally, directly back out to the people, because that was the original idea behind Satoshi's white paper in the first place. You wanted to have people running it on their own computer, but that didn't end up working out, and now we've got it once again getting centralized back into the hands of the people who have more money. And I've always hated that idea. It's not like money should not be why you're respected. Money should not be why you're influential. Money should not play a part in any of that. And that's what we're really trying to decouple, right? We want your influence to be based on you and your contributions. Like, you're giving a lot of people good advice, you're giving a lot of people good content, you're giving a lot of people your time and your effort in towards making this network bigger and towards giving out good information. You should level up. It has nothing to do with how much money you have. It's so stupid. So yeah.
That's great information, and I appreciate
That being
the
said, this
financial
will
that
make a
you
lot of
offered us
people
there.
very wealthy. If they were able to get in early at these ridiculously low prices, compare the market cap to Ethereum and where we are right now. Ethereum has 112, 120 million coins, something like that. We have 1.3 million. Ethereum's coin is $1,000 per coin, and ours right now is what, 40 cents? So yeah, there's a little bit of room for improvement there and increase in value. So even though I'm not focused on money whatsoever, I always knew that yes, this would make quite a few people extremely happy. And the sooner you get in, the more coin you can get for the same amount of value. Always, you're going to be able to get in at any point, right? And you'll always be able to make some value with it. Obviously, the people who get in earlier are going to make more coin that if they hold on to that, will be worth more value in the future. So, the sooner the better. The quicker that you get onto it, the more chances you're going to have more coins at the beginning. Hold on to those, and you never know what can happen, right? Like, look at the dude who bought the 27,000 Bitcoin pizza or whatever. Like, those kinds of stories are going to be very similar with what happens in the Qortal network. I think that it should be able to happen a little quicker since people understand blockchain technology a little bit now and can see what has happened in the past with other blockchain projects that are legitimate. And but Bitcoin is just a coin, and that's the thing. Like, just a coin can be as valuable as Bitcoin is then something that can do that as like just something that we do basically like as an accident, and the rest of the stuff that we can do utilizing the same technology that's unhackable and unstoppable and cannot be centralized and owned, there's an immense amount of value there. Like I can't even really calculate it all because there are multiple multi-billion dollar platforms already built into it. So yeah, it's something that the sooner everyone gets involved, the happier they're going to be. And everyone who's gotten involved so far has been extremely stoked with the concepts and what we have and what we're going to be able to do in the future. There's even someone who jumped into the community and started building a game already. So I'm really happy about that. And yeah, it's the open development and the open source nature of every single aspect of it, all the way down to the hardware level, makes it so that any developer can come in, help out, do other things, help us develop new things, develop services, whatever they want to do. And the UI being capable of plugins allows for then a simple installation of a plugin, shows up on the left hand side, and can do any number of functionality, all secured and verified by a distributed ledger. It's insane. It's awesome.
In about 10 minutes, well, 9 minutes now, I'm going to encourage those in the audience to send some questions your way. But I have
Yeah,
one a question I like to
sure.
ask first before I do that. Some context. I have a friend living in Acapulco, Mexico, and he is very interested in encouraging all people involved in the local market in that city to accept crypto for services or products.
Yeah.
Um, and so, my friend, let's say, wants to buy something or purchase something and using the trade portal or a transaction that uses court. How would that what would that look like? How does that happen? How do we
It's
do that?
essentially very simple. If everyone just decided that they were going to use Court instead of other things, they just install it, they run it, they have their own wallet, and they can accept payment. It's that simple. So if the person said I want to pay in Court, all the person accepting it would have to do is get installed, create their account, and accept it. If they wanted to explain how to get from US dollars into Court, since we don't have right now a direct gateway for that. There will probably be gateway providers that will do that in the future, but I will always recommend that trading directly cross chain and not ever letting go of control of your coins is always better. Even if it's a centralized provider that I trust, I will still tell everyone, do not use it with more money than you could potentially lose and have no problem with losing that. Because no matter what, there's always some sort of risk associated with giving control of your coins to someone else. That being said, we will have gateway providers that do a direct fiat gateway in the future. I know there's a couple that are already trying to talk about it. But if the person wanted to get into Court right now and they had US dollars, all they would have to do is buy Litecoin, which Coinbase in the US, I don't know, outside of the US, there's plenty of other places that you can convert that US dollars into Litecoin. From that point, you go into your Qortal wallet. You'll have a Litecoin wallet inside of your Qortal wallet. The address shows up at the top right. Copy that address and fund that wallet. You're not sending it to anybody. Remember, this is just to you. You're the only one who controls the keys for that wallet. Once it gets confirmed there, go into the trade portal. You'll see listed sells. There's no way to place buys that sit there on the trade portal. That's another thing that's really cool about it. You cannot manipulate the trade portal market. There's no way to like fake people out by putting fake orders or putting a lot of volume right below a certain number or any of that nonsense that they do to manipulate markets. If there's a sell up there, it's a real sell, and the person is there because the presence transaction will keep only notifying you of the cells that have a person with their node online, so the cells that can complete. So you find a cell, click it, and click buy. It's really that simple, and it will trade directly from Litecoin into Court at whatever value the listed cell is at, and you'll end up with the Court in your wallet in 7 minutes or less.
Wild. So this friend of mine is in connection as his friend that's going to contribute to the infrastructure has this app called what is it, Palm Pay. And
Okay.
Palm Pay, I went to their website and looked at it, and it's connected to BitShare.
Bit
And
shares.
so, is it possible to do these trades, or is there an app, or is there a wallet that you prefer or would recommend, or that people
For
are already using
BitShares,
on their mobile phones?
for mobile phones, for using what?
Well, like many wallets are on like centralized markets to for people to download and install. Like for example, I
Right,
had Mycelium on my Samsung kind of thing,
right.
and so I understand that.
We will probably get listed on some of those wallets as well. They can do it of their own accord if they wanted to take it upon themselves to list us on their wallets. The thing is with me is I'm way too much of an idealist, and I don't like the idea of influencing the listing on centralized services just because I know that there's a potential for loss there. So I don't want anybody getting into Qortal to have any potential for loss. That being said, there are some good centralized services, and they can take it upon themselves to list Court because it's open source. Our API is totally open. Everything's totally open. So they can decide to list us if they like to. And we will have a mobile wallet that is launched relatively soon. We could do it right now with the UI and wrap that into a mobile app. But there's some functionality there that would require a full node, which would mean the phone would have to be a full node. And right now, without having top only sync that I want to have in the near future, I don't think running a full node on a phone is a great idea at the moment. That being said, we can also do a hosted backend that wouldn't actually take any information. It would only take submitted signed transactions that are already completed. So there's still no risk for loss there. And we can use that for communications and for a normal wallet. So we will probably have a mobile wallet come out soon that will be just a wallet and communications and Q chat. But the trading and stuff is going to be a little bit further down the line for mobile, because we need to have another sync method that allows for top only sync so that we're not taking 10 to 15 gigabytes of space and so forth on the phone, right? So, but that being said, I have run it on my phone already and it does work. So we can definitely do it. But yeah, as far as getting into core utilizing a mobile, I have a hosted wallet that I have set up now that would work on a phone that would work for just wallet functionality. You would not be able to assign a minting key to it because it's using a hosted backend, so that you can't own a node that you don't actually own. The only way you can assign a minting key to it is if you're local host to the device. So yeah, I can make it so a wallet and QChat works, but minting and trading will not work on a mobile phone at this point. We're still, relatively early in the launch process, so there's a lot more that can be done, and the potential is limitless on all the different aspects. So, but yeah, as far as right now on a mobile phone, I can give you a way to do it right now. It's not like official by any means, and it would definitely work, and you could still save that backup and use it on any other device for trading and so forth for the same account. And I can
Because
explain
of
all
that
that to
trade
you.
pairing with LTC with Litecoin,
Yeah.
there's are you aware that I'm asking of your experience in describing like how many wallets support, or are there quite a few that support Litecoin?
Oh yeah, I mean almost everybody supports Litecoin because it was like the
So
second
we could be
coin
carrying around
basically.
an app on our phone that is the wallet that has our Litecoin balance,
Yeah,
and then I don't know,
yeah, you
doing.
would. I mean, in order to trade it right now for court, you would have to use something off of a mobile phone. You would have to have some sort of desktop, be it a Raspberry Pi or a normal desktop computer or a laptop or anything like that right now, because we only have UI application for Windows, Mac, Linux. We don't have a mobile application yet. So in order to trade for court, you do need to have a local node and a local installation of the UI, and then you can take your Litecoin and trade it for court. So right now, yes, we're not as easy to access on mobile phones, but that will be something that is definitely done, hopefully as soon as possible. I'm just trying to get a little bit more done as far as what we have now and some more functionality with what we have before I start digging into mobile phones. But yeah, the end game, obviously, we want mobile platform definitely, and ultimately we're gonna probably end up designing and building a phone too. Like we built the kernel for these devices, we can build a custom kernel for pretty much anything with the team that that I've put together. They can literally blow my mind with what they can build. So yeah, we will probably end up doing a hardware company that will do custom devices and phones and all kinds of different things in the future. Right now, it's the early adopter phase, right? Like to get in, you have to have a full node, you have to have an installation on a desktop type device. And you are then able to do everything inside of the platform, including trading. So if you were to get your Litecoin wallet on your phone, you could get your address from your Qortal wallet, send the coin to that address, and trade on your desktop. As far as fully supporting mobiles, not yet.
Very exciting time. Hey, it's been an hour that I've had the pleasure of Jason's sole attention in regards to questions and output. Although I'm sure he's addressing the audience with everything that he describes. So hey, audience, if you have something you'd like to ask Jason or some more details or burning questions, you know, the gentleman is very informative. He's been involved in this industry for quite some time in many different aspects, and he loves to simplify things. And so it's not about obscuring or using jargon or technical terms in order to conceal certain issues. No, this guy is devoted to making it easily understood and widely available. So hit him up.
Hey, so I'm going to go ahead and step in here. Hello, everybody. So, hey, Jason, thank you so much for doing this and everything that you're doing.
Of course.
And so I have maybe a controversial question, and I apologize. I joined late, so if you already covered this,
No,
please
that's
forgive
fine.
me.
I like controversial questions, so no worries.
Oh, good. So I was watching an interview you did recently with someone, and I kind of watched a few of them in a row, so I can't tell you which one it was exactly, but I think you made the comment that pretty much Bill Gates controlled all of the cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin. So if you could,
ask him that.
did I hear
I don't
that
think I
wrong?
said that. Yeah, no, I definitely didn't say that.
Okay.
I don't know where you heard that, but
Okay.
I mean, no, that's not the case at all.
Okay.
But what I am saying is that centralized agencies essentially do control basically everything, right? And we already know this, right? And they're just doing the same thing in the decentralized space because they can. Because
Okay.
the algorithms that run these other projects lead themselves towards being able to be influenced by money directly. So
Hmm.
if they can influence it by a bunch of money that they can print magically, why wouldn't they? Right?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
why the main thing for Qortal in regard to that is that we do not have any sort of way to gain influence in the system with monetary means alone.
Okay.
So
Well,
yeah, we wanted to make sure to
I'm glad
address
you
that.
cleared that up, and I'm
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
glad I
know.
heard it
I want to
wrong.
see that if you
I'm
if because I'm like, wait, what? Bill Gates did what now? Yeah, no, I don't remember saying like that. If I
well,
did, maybe it was something else entirely. I don't know.
okay. Well,
Yeah, I
if I
definitely
run
don't
across,
remember saying that, and I wouldn't really say that, so I don't think it was me.
okay. Well, very good. I just misunderstood. So
Yeah,
thank
yeah,
you.
but the problem is that a bunch of these companies do control too much, right?
Hmm.
In so many different ways. But the blockchain space was supposed to address that.
Hmm.
And now they're addressing that again by doing the same thing in the blockchain space because the blockchain space allows it.
Yeah.
The
Well,
other coins with POW and POS can be bought into like that. You can own a massive mining operation or just own a bunch of coins in a POS wallet, and you can own the influence of that network, which is a big problem, right?
and again, they're like you say, they're buying this with their counterfeit money, their magic made out of
Exactly.
thin air money.
So now, if you want to turn that counterfeit money into Litecoin and turn it into Court, which is going to increase in value an astronomical amount once people already start paying attention to what's going on here, that's what we can do now. So I'm trying to take and funnel as much value from even other cryptocurrencies that
Hmm.
have the potential to be centralized and bring them in the value into Court where everyone can benefit in the Qortal network.
Right. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I didn't ask that question for you, Darby, because I was hoping you'd handle that yourself.
Where did you guys
You're
hear
welcome.
that? Where did you hear that?
It was It was on just I watched kind of a marathon of interviews with you one day, and so I will absolutely go back and find what I thought I heard you say
Yeah,
and
please do,
figure out
because
what you really said, and I'll share it with everyone.
yeah, because if it came across that way, that was definitely not what I meant. Because yeah, I mean, there are plenty of other decentralized projects, and in
Hmm.
theory, a lot of them are good, right? But the
Hmm.
problem lies in the very base level, and that's why we had to rebuild the base level in order to address those issues, because ultimately POW and POS can end up getting centralized again. Yes, it's
Hmm.
not directly the same type of centralization where they literally control everything,
Yeah,
but they have influence over the network, and that's still sort of the same thing, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, well, it's still funny money trying trying to drive up the price of assets. I mean,
Very
just
much. Yeah.
stealing,
And,
just
and a
outright
cool part,
stealing.
what I like to say about Qortal is that, like, think of it as owning the court token or the
Hmm.
court coin, right?
Hmm.
When you own that coin, you own potentially the value of the entire internet plus every company that's built on top of it, right?
Hmm.
It's like a stock in the internet and everything built on top of it. So if you can really think about the value there and really understand where the value lies in the network itself, the network is where the value is, right? So instead of being backed by nothing, we're backed by an extremely beneficial network that allows P2P everything without any centralized oversight or control. And how valuable is that? It's up for everybody to decide, right? It's an open market, so the market will decide the value. And just like these other platforms, I assume that once people really realize the main differences in the platform and what we can actually do, that value will increase significantly. So
Well, yeah, I mean, you're talking about the future infrastructure for everything, so
yeah,
that's no small thing
I
for
know.
sure.
And honestly, it was too idealistic. Even I thought when we were coming up with the concepts, I even thought a lot of my concepts and a lot of the other people's concepts were going to be too idealistic to make reality.
Hmm.
But luckily, the team that we somehow magically ended up with me talking to random people, and we got like the best developers in the world. I still think that we have the best developers in the world, and they made it real. It's insane. Yeah.
Awesome,
Did
very
any of them
good.
say to you directly that they wanted to get involved with the Qortal project or Quora perhaps at that time because they saw how things could be improved upon what Bitcoin had done or other coins?
A lot of it was me. Like, honestly, like I was the one who was like, look at this and this, we could do this and this better. And then they would take and take those ideas and go, yeah, it could be done this way or this way and whatever. But Siam was a big one who contributed his code to Qortal. He developed the smart contract language, which he wrote his own programming language. That's a hardware level language, which you understand what that means. It's crazy. And he wrote that language and wrote the smart contract system that allowed us to even do any of these cross-chain trades and stuff. And that was back when we did the cross-chain trade with Burst and Quora. But man, there's been so much that has taken place that I've seen firsthand with so many different projects, and I always end up finding some sort of flaw with the way that they've built themselves, right? Like there's always something where I go, yeah, well, this could be better. And in Qortal, I wanted to address all that and say, in Qortal, I don't really see much that can be improved upon as far as the base level goes, which is great because then we actually have a system that is truly decentralized. And that's what the ultimate goal was. Like going back through and figuring out how all this stuff was put together, it blows my own mind. Like I'm like, if this one specific weird little thing hadn't happened, I wouldn't have met this person. And then all this, it's just like totally fate that brought all this together. And I'm just honored to be the guy in this position, right? Like I'm super honored and humbled to be here and be in this position. So yeah, I just want to make sure that I can get the word out to everyone and help them secure their own individual sovereignty in a digital state, because everything is digital now, right? Like, and so without that underlying infrastructure that's so honest, open, transparent, and able to do all these things, where are we going to go? We're leading towards where Google and Amazon literally own everything. So that is not okay for me.
Yeah, absolutely. You're preaching to the choir, and we're so happy to find you.
Yeah, well, I'm happy too. Like how everything's been coming together is just like there's no other way to describe it. It's all been fate. I just happened to be the guy who was here, and I'm super stoked to be. So yeah.
Jump in. Come off your mute. Ask them. What do you want to know? I'm curious still, is there people in here that have that are currently holding any crypto, or and you may not want to say and even the details of the coin per se or something like that. Like privacy is definitely an issue, anything that goes over the net, but I'm interested in people that, let's say, have experience with this technology, blockchain technology, or have experience with the Qortal project themselves.
Well, okay, so I have another question then.
Sure.
I'll turn. S- so Jason got me set up, and I'm running it, and I see that actually. Let me just take a look here. I just have a question with the. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that I'd be able to ask this question. It's just taking it a minute to
No
open.
worries. No rush.
Okay, thank you. So anyway, seems like my processor's kind of doing other things, so I have to wait a second or two for
Yeah, and I've
for other
also
things.
noticed on Windows specifically that the memory management in Windows is kind of crappy. And sometimes after running the Coral Core for about a week or so, sometimes a little bit less, a little bit more,
Uh-huh.
it starts using more CPU because of
Hmm.
the memory management issues in Windows. So
Hmm.
we are going to address that at the core level as soon as possible. But also, if you notice that, you can just exit the core and restart it, and then you'll
Okay.
notice that CPU usage goes down.
Okay.
Obviously, that's an issue, but it's not really that big of
Mhm.
one, and we will be addressing it. So yeah, if you notice that the CPU usage starts going up higher than it normally is, just
Mhm.
exit the core and restart it, and
Okay.
then
Very
you'll
good.
you'll see that will start
Okay. Well, that's
being low
very
again.
helpful. Yeah, because
Yeah.
sometimes it really is
Yeah,
hungry.
on Windows, it's horrible. Yeah, on Windows, it just starts using more and more RAM, and it'll get to using about 1/4 of your RAM, I think is what we limited to. I can also show you how to limit that further in the
Okay.
settings, but I really think that it's more of just a memory management issue. So no matter how much RAM you give it, once it gets to the point where it's using a certain amount, it'll start using more CPU.
Okay.
So we'll address that. In Linux and Mac, it doesn't do that. So
Okay. Yeah.
it literally just a Windows problem.
Okay. Yeah. Because it requires at this point usually 75% or more
Yeah, depending on
CPU.
which computer you're running and how old it is and how many cores
Yeah.
it has, that number will change. But yeah,
Yeah.
restarting the core will make that better for at least a couple of days. So if you wanted to, you can restart it every couple of days.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, and you're not going to miss any minting time if you're minting. Excuse me, I just inhaled a bunch of saliva. But anyways, yeah, if
It's
you're
time.
minting, it doesn't it doesn't make a difference if you restart the core, because the
Okay.
minting only checks that the submitted signatures every block were submitted every 5 blocks, right? So it checks the submitted signatures over the last 5 blocks. So you can like restart your computer for updates or something and let it come back up and restart it back up, and you won't miss any minting time.
Okay. Very good. Well, and so I see here it wants me to log in, and I don't really that's kind of a lengthy process probably. So I'll see if I can just your interface well enough that maybe I can describe the question.
Yeah.
So when you sent me the Qortal, the court to get me on the network, or get me mining or whatever,
Well,
right?
I sent you some court so that you could register a name. You don't need any court in order to start minting. You just need the
Okay.
minting key or the sponsorship key in order to get started sponsored and then minting. You shouldn't
Okay.
need anything if you're trying to buy or you're trying to become a minter.
Mhm.
You don't need any
No.
court.
No.
Um,
Yeah.
if I
No.
sent
So
you court, it was so that you could register a name on the chain.
right.
Yeah.
Right, right. And so, and it says I'm minting, and I'm seeing two entries there, and I don't really know what those are. So if somebody else wants to ask a question or something,
Oh,
maybe
you're talking about
maybe
in the
I can
node
log in.
management. You're seeing two entries and one is maybe blank.
Well, no, it is it's the one that shows the amount that you sent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And below that it says received, and it's
Mm-hmm.
got a string of characters, and then there's another one there also that has a string of characters, and I guess I'm going to have to log in
So
just
the
so I can
reward share, maybe.
maybe. So
Okay.
I'm just
So
I'm
okay, so when you go to the reward share page, it
mhm,
pulls from the chain and shows all reward share relationships that include your account.
okay.
So if you are sponsored
Hmm.
and you still have the sponsorship relationship on the chain, that will show up. And if you're already
Okay.
level 1 and have already created your minting key, that's another
Hmm.
relationship, so it would show too. Until me as
Gotcha.
the sponsor, if I sponsored you and I haven't noticed you reached level 1 yet and removed that key from the chain, it
Hmm.
will still show up. Same
Okay.
thing with assigning it in node management. When you assign that key, and if it was a sponsorship key and I remove it from the chain, it'll show a blank thing there that you can still just
Okay.
click remove and get rid of it,
Okay.
and assign just your minting key. Like
Okay.
once you reach level 1, you no longer need sponsorships. So you'll just create your minting key,
Uh-huh.
assign that, and remove the sponsorship key. It's either going to be removed already and you'll remove a blank space, or it's going to be still there and you can just remove it, right?
Okay.
So yeah, you're once you get to level 1, you just need your minting key, and your minting key is going to be the one that says minting account you,
Uh-huh.
recipient you.
Okay.
So you created it and you are the one receiving the rewards. And once you get to that point, that's when you actually start receiving rewards from minting. When you're in the sponsorship period, you do not
Uh-huh.
get rewarded because
Right.
right then you're proving yourself to the network essentially.
Okay.
So
So I
once you've
don't.
proven
I'm
yourself,
sorry.
then you can start earning.
I got you. So I don't need to do anything else with that then.
No,
I'm
if
just
you've
letting
created your
everything.
minting key and you've already assigned your minting key that you created, you don't need to do anything else.
Okay.
Even having the sponsorship key still assigned doesn't make a difference.
Okay.
So
Well,
even
and
if it
and
is still
so
there, it doesn't
so
matter.
so I know I can check that I've done that by the fact that I'm minting. That means that I've done it correctly, right?
Well, if you still had the sponsorship key assigned, it would still say minting. So just make sure that you have the key assigned that says your account in both locations and you're good.
Okay.
So it'll say minting account, your account, and then it'll say recipient account, your account. If it shows that and that's assigned in node management, you're good to go.
Okay. I'm going to sign in while y'all are talking to somebody else
Yeah, sure. No
and
problem.
check on
Yeah.
that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll jump in. Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you, Jason. Thank
Yeah,
you,
no
Lee.
problem.
Uh, I really don't have a question. I'm really new to a lot of it, so I appreciate how you put it out there so simply, and I appreciate you. I mean, the whole idea of having a community like this, it sounds. I don't know. It's just it's a great thing, even just to be a part of this conversation, and yeah, I don't know. There was space, so I figured I didn't want you guys hanging out there, so I jump in, and because I'm totally new to most of this, like even with Mint, like I mean with the Linux, like I just recently put Linux on, and that
Nice.
was a huge jump for me, and like I was talking to Lee recently, so now little by little I'm learning. So yeah, I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to learning more about this stuff. So I just wanted to say thanks and take
Yeah,
up
of
some of that
course.
dead air.
Yeah, like I try to explain things. I do sometimes get a little bit too technical, but in some cases, like with explaining the trade portal just now, I failed myself and I didn't even explain it correctly, and that makes me annoyed, and I'm going to be annoyed about it for the next few days. But
Oh no, not
anyways,
no. It's more
um,
just my inexperience with it, but that
no.
yeah, no.
So
I mean, I could
yeah, I
follow
mean,
definitely.
we tried to make the UI as intuitive as possible. Like if you want to message, you go to messaging. If you want to send coin, you go to send coin. So we tried to make it as simple as possible. Like if you try to use any other blockchain project, you're going to realize that Qortal is 150 times easier to use. Just the fact that you can create your account by going next, 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 download a backup, next again. Like no other project allows you to create an account so easily. No other
Wow.
project allows you to do all of this stuff, especially trading directly across chain as easily as we do. Like, and that's the really thing that's going to allow us to be adopted, right? And the thing too that we can auto update the network with an approval transaction of 60% of the developer group on the chain is
Mm.
amazing. So then you can install this one time, and as long as you're able to maintain synchronization, you should automatically update to the new versions as we release them.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's amazing. I mean, it's yeah. So
I'm really
it's
glad you're
cool. It's
liking
just
it. And yeah, if you have any other questions, just definitely let me know. Like,
yeah. No, thanks, guys. Thanks for holding the space. Appreciate it.
yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Lee.
You're all here using the internet and applications and software that plugs into transport layers and hardware language and things that we don't directly communicate with. But when you think about the internet, when you started, when you first heard about it and what you're doing with it today, like what do you think about what you wish it would be or could be, or what do you wish the internet would do for you?
I don't want to
Is
see
it doing
advertisements
that?
everywhere. Like that's another thing where I don't want any damn advertisements.
So I don't, it's not specifically about the internet, but I remember when I was in high school and somebody said we were going to have cards and we're going to use the cards instead of money. I told this person that it was preposterous and like, how would that even work? And that doesn't even make sense. And everybody would just lose the cards and they wouldn't have any money and it would be a pain in the ass. And I just didn't see it.
Yeah, and now we've taken it a whole step further where you literally control everything. You don't even have to deal with a bank when you're dealing with those cards, anything like that. And now you can just send value to anyone you want without any sort of like oversight and them saying, "Oh, you sent more than $10,000 to this person. What did you do that for?" Da, 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 da. They can actually take your account away from you. I have had multiple issues with both PayPal and a couple bank accounts who called me a drug dealer because I was selling Bitcoin, and that was before they started selling Bitcoin. So they took $18,000 from me in two different cases. One was $12,000 from Bank of America, another one was $18,000 from PayPal, and they just decided that they could do that because they decided I was yeah.
Either.
Yeah, what's that?
I get money, I take it out.
Yeah. They took it as the transfer was happening. So it wasn't even like it was nonsense. Like, and I had all the proof with people even holding their ID and pictures of the service I was using to sell Bitcoin and everything. It made no difference. It was, yeah. And that, so all these issues that I've had with centralized providers in the past has contributed towards what we're doing now to make sure that that can't happen to anyone in the future.
If someone wanted to locate a computer, a desktop kind of computer near a market, let's say in Acapulco, and they were able or willing to take the local currency, whether that was they decided to take US dollars or Mexican pesos, and then sent you to transfer equal value to your wallet, would that be considered OTC, over the counter? Or is that...
Yeah, if somebody wanted to trade me a value in a fiat currency for court, yeah, that would be considered an OTC trade.
And when that person kind of, in effect, like a airport exchange kind of window kind of thing, this similar kind of...
Yeah, it's like a person, like a hand-to-hand trade, right?
Mm.
Like, so I meet someone at the park, they give me $50, I send them $50 in Bitcoin, right? Yeah, or $50 in court, whatever it may be.
So what would be the best way of setting that up if you say you had a conference or something like that, and you wanted to do it like across all of the participants?
What I would say, like, as far as like what, distributing out coins to everyone, or
no, trading coins for fiat currency and maybe the other way around too.
So
you know
for
what I mean?
fiat currency, you're going to have to use a centralized provider for that. We do not have a gateway provider right now that does direct to court. So my suggestion would be, if you're in the US, to use Coinbase to buy Litecoin. And once you have Litecoin, you can trade directly with court. So we keep ourselves 1 degree separated from any of the centralized nonsense. We will have centralized providers that will provide a gateway directly from fiat to court, but right now that doesn't exist. So the way that you can get into court is with Litecoin. So you use another provider to get Litecoin, whichever provider you can use to get Litecoin. Coinbase is really easy in the US. Once you get that Litecoin, you send it to your wallet in court and you can buy court on the trade portal.
Thank you.
Hey, QChat, does that have any connection or similar software to Mumble? Is there any connection to Mumble at all?
And no, but I like Mumble, and Mumble is actually installed on the Gen 1 devices. These were
That's
built to
where I was
be,
thinking of
yeah.
Mumble and why I looked into that or
These
revamped
were
that
built to
project
be a
because of you.
router. Yeah, they were built to be a router, and they have a Nextcloud instance and some backup software and stuff on them too. They also host a Mumble server, so you can jump in and do encrypted communications, voice and text with that. But no, QChat is its own thing, completely custom, like everything else in Qortal, and
Cool.
utilizes a memory hard POW algo to hash instead of a transaction fee. So a new user coming in with less coins in their wallet is going to take a longer time to send a message so that we can prevent spam. But at the same time, if someone has a bunch of coins in their wallet, then that their transactions and their sending of messages is going to be a lot faster. Both of them are free. So the message also just stays for 24 hours and then disappears because it's an unconfirmed transaction that never confirms on purpose. So it's instant, and you can send instant messages for free, and then they disappear after 24 hours by default. The next things that I would like to see in the future for that is allowing local caching of the messages so that you can keep them longer on your client if you'd like to, as opposed to just the 24-hour period that they are now. P2P messages on QChat are encrypted with the encryption of both accounts. So there is absolutely no way for anybody to get in between that. There's absolutely no way for those messages to be messed with. That is a direct communication between those two parties, and it's completely encrypted, and there's no way that anybody can ever read those messages. The group messages right now are base 58 encoded, and they're actually able to be pulled from the API. So if you're communicating in a public group, those messages are actually able to be pulled and decoded. So you wouldn't want to use those for like really sensitive things, but still you have to be running a Qortal core and be able to pull the information from the blockchain in order to get it. And we will have group encryption methods that we're going to use for group chats so that those can also be encrypted with a key that represents that group. So that's something that we're going to be able to do in the very near future with QChat. QChat is very cool and unique, and the fact that you can use it without even having any coin at all is something that no other communication blockchain platform can do. So that's really, really cool and just in itself. And that gives you an idea of both what Qortal can do, because we can make these transaction types that can do that, and what also can be done with the communications aspect of Qortal with instant communications that can take place like that. Next thing I want to do is tie in the serverless WebRTC that we've had a demo of on Quora for a while, and make it so that we can do stuff like this here in Zoom inside of Qortal 2 in QChat.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be
Yes.
really cool. I'll be really excited in that day when that day comes. Yeah.
So in the near future, what are you seeing? What's in the pipe?
Yeah, increasing the functionality of the stuff we already have, fixing some little bugs in the UI and the Mac UI, like being able to copy paste. For some reason, the Mac UI has issues with copying and pasting. So there's little things like that. I want to just improve what we already have. Then I would really like to see the voting system get started, and potentially a couple more coins get listed on the trade portal. So it's still going to be a focus on the trade portal, and also enhancing the existing features, making QChat have more functionality, making pinning messages of things so you can turn them into a message that stays on the chain for a transaction fee and it'll stay there forever. And yeah, just improving the functionality of what we have already, plus adding more wallets support, so we can maybe support Monero that's getting delisted from all the exchanges because it's a privacy coin. If we can figure out a way to trade that cross chain, which I think they're developing the technology for that now, if they develop that, then we can actually list Monero, and then we can save them from being a dead coin with no exchange. So that is going to be huge. Yeah, I want to just see the features that we have now more improved, more enhanced. I want a mobile app really badly, because that's definitely going to be a huge market when we can hit mobile apps, and get people to be able to trade and stuff on mobile too. So that's going to take a little bit of work, but ultimately just improving what we have and getting the voting system started, and getting the other coins listed on the trade portal and supported in the wallet. So basically, I want Qortal to be the one place you have to go with all of your crypto coin wallets that you like. You can keep track of them all there in one place and trade them directly cross-chain with Qort as the base pair to trade between any of the other ones, and all of that in one interface. Plus, eventually being able to go blog there, or read people's blogs there, or see people's video blogs there, all inside of the same UI. So ultimately, it'll be basically a blockchain based operating system when we're done. Like that's where we're trying to get to pretty much. It's like infrastructure, but it's also got applications built on top of it. So it's ultimately almost an operating system that's run on a distributed database, which is crazy to think about. So yeah, I want to see the improved functionality of the stuff that we have and the voting system. That would be cool.
When blockchain technology is described as a ledger, a massive database, and people talk about the time that's required for that database to be interfaced with. When you talked about the time required to interface with Bitcoin, as your network, as Qortal increases in size, massive size, like what effect does that have on the speed of communications, or no
in
effect?
Theory,
Can you
nothing.
explain that to us? It's hard
and
to...
in theory, it should actually get faster. The very back end was built by Siam as far as the scalability, and so in theory, as it gets bigger, it should only get faster. And I don't know how to even tell you how many transactions per second or whatever that we can do, because even with just the minting verification transactions, that's like 15,000 transactions, and it does that in seconds without anyone noticing it. So I really don't think we're going to have any issues with scalability whatsoever. And if anything, the network should get faster as we get more nodes. You'll be able to connect faster, sync faster. There will just be, unlimited potential as far as what we can do. Like I've not seen any sort of lag whatsoever with anything that I've done so far. And we've not been able to push the system as far as to actually make it slow down at all. I don't really think it's going to be slowing down at all.
Good to know.
Yeah. The way that it's built is unique, and it's really, really cool.
Well, I requested an hour and a half for this podcast. We're about to wrap it up, the recording side of it, and it's up to Jason whether or not he has time or is willing to be available. But the room can stay open for a little bit longer. But because I'm a man of my word, I did request an hour and a half, and we're about the top of the hour. Did anyone have any closing comments or questions for him that like take advantage of his time?
Just thank you again. I did get logged on, and you know what? It does. It says reward share on top, payment below, and sender receiver on both sides. So I am all set.
And in your node management, you have that relationship assigned, yes? At the top in node management, at the top it'll say minting accounts assigned to this node.
It has minting account and then recipient account.
Is it the same account?
No.
Okay, so you've still got your sponsorship key assigned, it looks like.
Okay.
So what I can show you how to do now is, it looks like you've already created the minting key since you see that transaction in the wallet, right? The reward share transactions there in the wallet. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so what you're going to need to do is just to get that key again. And the way you're going to do that is copy your public key from the settings at the top right. So double click to select the public key and right click copy.
Okay.
And then close that out. Then in reward share, click create new, create reward share at the top right.
In the wallet part?
Reward share.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay, so create reward share.
Yep, and then paste your public key there.
Okay.
And then click add, and that new window pops up.
It says cannot create reward share at level 0.
Oh, so you're not level 1 yet.
Okay.
So you're good. You're good. You're
I
still
just
in
started
the sponsorship process. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have the right key assigned right now. You have a sponsorship key assigned right now. So what you're doing right now is minting your proving period. So once you get 7,200 online blocks, your account level at the top left will say account level 1 instead of account level nothing. Top left.
In the reward share?
No, just see it where it says your account level at the top left. Just at the very top left of the UI, not.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Account level. It says account level and then blank, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That will say account level 1 once you get to level 1. Once you
Okay.
get to level 1, then you can create your own minting key.
But I'll get some kind of notice or alert or something, right? I mean,
There's no alert for that, not as of right now, but so just log in and check it out. You can also do an API call to see how many blocks you have right now, and I can show you how to do that too. But basically, just wait until that says level 1. You're already good. It says minting at the bottom, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so you're good. You're good. All you got to do now is just wait until you hit that 7,200 block time frame, which it keeps track of, so you don't got to worry about it. Just check it, and when that says account level 1 at the top left, then you'll create your minting key with the reward share 0% to your own public key. You'll click add, and it'll pop up another key. That's your minting key.
Okay.
Then you copy that key, then click confirm, and it'll create it on the chain, and then you're good to go. So then you'll assign that to node management where the other one is right now. So right now you've got your sponsorship key assigned. Once you hit level 1, you don't need the sponsorship key anymore. You need to create your minting key to assign that. So then that node becomes your node. Right now, that node is sponsored on your behalf and minting your account up to get to level 1. Once you get to level 1, you've done your verification and proving yourself. You've obviously been able to run a node for 7,200 blocks. So then you can create your own minting key, which is the reward share 0% to your own public key. That will create the other key that pops up. You copy that and assign that in node management, and then you'll get rewards. You'll start earning rewards every block.
Perfect. And I have your instructions I can refer back to.
Yeah, and if you need anything, just let me know. I'm pretty much always on the computer, so just let me know. Yeah.
Yeah, you've been great. Thank you.
I'm actually probably going to get going here, unless anybody else has any other questions, because I have some stuff to do. My wife.
All right, I'm going to play the outro music, and I'd like to thank my amazing guest, Jason Crowe, Crowetic on Discord. In the chat for this particular Zoom call, I've listed a couple things there. There's the Qortal.org, the main project webpage. There's a link there to the Discord, the Qortal Project official Discord server. And then Jason also has a company of his own, which can be found at crowetic.com, crowetic.com, just like his Discord handle. So thank you so much, Jason. Thank you so much for all of you that have come in. Well, Jason, I'll just pause there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you to all my wonderful guests for coming by to Love and Support Sessions. Hey, support is not just the relationships that we have with human beings, but also the infrastructure that we utilize, the projects that we give our time, attention, and perhaps currencies to. And so I think that's a very valuable element, being a human being in this day and age, especially in 2021 with all the crap that's going on. But as you can see, there's a lot of good stuff going on. There are people building out solutions and involved with projects that matter to them and should matter to us as well. So I was very happy to have Jason as a guest today. Thank you, Jason, again.
Absolutely.
Right on.